Ashe and blessings to you. So today, instead of doing Flashcard Friday, I've decided to do a divination spread. I do Cowry Shell Divinations. It's a way to divine brought to the people of Dagara in Burkina Faso from the beings called Kontomble. Kontomble are related or in service to humanity to bring stories and poetry of living to our physical dimension. Um, so energetically, we basically right now we need to clear up our cosmic clutter, and we're at a crossroads in our most predominantly within our ancestors, like the beings and the people that came before we arrived here. So, what does that look like, or what does that mean? I mean, I mused about this the other day how we often pray or have conversations with spirit, but we generally don't have spirit conversations with our ancestors. And there's this clutter within our lineages, within our families. I'm also in the middle of watching a series on Netflix called Ertugrul. He was a leader in a dynasty in the Byzantine times in this Turkish empire, which is very fascinating because what I see is happening in our physical world actually was something that actually started in like a further century. Also, I recently did a ancestralization with Malidoma, and I brought in the ancestors. My family lineage also were royalty in between the 11th through the 13th century. So this cosmic clutter I'm talking about is actually stuff that's happened to us from this further past timeline. So energetically, what does this look like? What does this mean? So today I just wanted to divine inspiration from the other world, whether it's our ancestors, the Wedame, which are the keepers of the wild, the Kontomble, which are the keepers basically of the shrines. So with that said, I'm going to move the shells and see what comes up for this weekend. Also, I just want to explore the curiosity of the oneness field. Because what I'm seeing a lot on social media has nothing to do with the oneness field. It's more of the separation field. And when you recognize that you're all part of the whole, what part of the whole is in discourse? You know, what part of our beliefs or our conditioning has created these entanglements that are actually happening in a timeline? And for me, looking into timelines, that's kind of part of what I do. And the beings of the other world that come to me and sometimes through me share insights into what's happening in the physical world. So it's kind of frustrating, right now. So anyway, I just want to explore those things about the oneness field because I find a lot of people that are spirit leaders, I want to say, or medicine people or light workers, whatever word resonates or collectively in and through you. Um, Fear, right? If something is fearful, it doesn't come from the greater universe. It comes from an entanglement in this worldly vibration. So you kind of have to have a conversation with your fear. What is it bringing to you? What is it showing to you? Is it real? Or have you manifested and created it through your own thought process and your own dynamic? So all this stuff kind of affects us in this dimension because we need to attune to it and clear it up. So discourse, adversity, crossroads, all these things, that's kind of a pivotal point for planet Earth. And recognize, like when you don't like somebody, what's the frequency or the energy that is manifesting from that vibration? What does that look like, right? So it always seems like I'm not a political person at all. I'm kind of, I look into the energetic fields. I look at what I see vibrationally and versus what I'm hearing, because sometimes actions and words aren't congruent. Somebody might be speaking something, but energetically their behavior is telling us a different story. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to muse a little bit about that. However, let's roll the shells. So energetically, I've already pre-prepped my shells. I do a little, I won't call it a prayer. I set an intention for the greater spirit, the beings in the other world, the ancestors, etc., to come in so I can be a conduit into the shells and spread them around. If you're curious about divination or interested in receiving one, just follow the link in the show notes. I do them one-on-one, probably through a camera setting like this if I have to use Zoom or what have you, and we roll the shells and have that conversation. So I am going to roll my own shells and let's see what happens. So it appears that obviously our discourse is in the realm of the ancestors. We need a new perspective on what this looks like. Healing is going to come from having a different perspective, tuning into our spirit and our ancestors and nurturing those spirits. So I guess what I'm trying to say just through that is to go have a conversation with your ancestors. Like, where do you belong? What aspect within your lineage and your family line do you need healing? Where is that discourse coming from? To create a relationship with them in a container. Nurture your inner nature for transformation and change. It's actually activated right now within these shells, which is always curious. Curiously enough, we don't need to have, we're already at a state of peace and in the state of transformation, but we need to connect with our ancestors for some transformation and change in this physical reality, because human beings feel like they're floating in time and space and don't really know where they belong with what's currently happening in the world. So it's in community. We all need to come together and release aspects of our own inner light and our own inner being. That's where our light is in community, and finding a home within community, validating those emotions and those feelings, and with no judgment. There's a lot of judgment happening. I see that as well when I read posts. And the beings of the other world are kind of assisting us with this conversation, the story, how it's going to play out, to literally heal what's not congruent. I just saw recently a friend posted something about Australia, like their lockdown has been expanded. So I think we need to get out of this bubble of fear and start addressing, like, government is for the people. It is not the opposing force, especially in an election year. Like, it's like a bunch of children that got their whoopee taken away in the illusion of power. I think humanity forgot that we, the people, literally have the power, and we need to awaken that relationship. What does that look like? So, yeah, that's just huge. And what are we devoted to? We need to devote to this change, this hierarchy of, some people feel like they're less than others, or even what they do to create an income isn't valued. So we need to revisit that energy and that frequency. Now, the shells speak a different language for me. The other world is just kind of where I exist. I have these otherworldly beings that kind of communicate to and through me. But yeah, we need to awaken this wildness that we have within us to communicate our brilliance out into the world and literally share our light. Like, there's always magic on the other side of fear. That's what I always say. I tell my friends that. I tell people that. I also say to have a conversation with your heart and create boundaries. Humanity is literally getting a wake-up call within communication, because a lot of people don't validate or speak their truth, whether it's a spiritual truth or a feeling truth or a change truth. But we all are in this thing of change. We've got to get out of this dictatorship kind of world, and that's actually where the healing begins, is having these conversations without judgment and bias, and just that is what the oneness field is. So whatever it is that you don't like within somebody else, that's actually a reflection of what's going on in your inner world, and there's a message there, but we forgot to question and stay curious and pay attention to the message. Is it, even if it appears negative, turn a spin on it and make it positive. We all have this ability to create this change and this transformation, and it actually it's a radical shift where there's these bodies where we have an energy body and we have a physical body, but you have to merge the two in a container and have those conversations. And every body has a gift. Everyone has a unique purpose and a value. So when we discredit another human being, we're literally discrediting ourselves, or an aspect of ourselves that needs some kind of healing, which I feel like healing is kind of a broad-based word anyway. To be quite honest, it's used in a variety of forms. So what is healing, right? How are you healed? Basically, it's an aspect of ourself that actually is coming home to our inner garden. So just being devoted to actually being in relationship with ourselves and what we love is kind of at a stagnant point. It's like this confusion triangle that needs to be awakened within each and every being to find your soul story, your spirit story, and what that conversation looks like. So with this weekend, I'm going to ask each and every one of you who are watching to create a relationship with your ancestors. And when I say ancestors, I'm not just talking ancestors in the physical world. I'm talking ancestors in the other world, because you need they can assist us in this shift, this change, this transformation that we're all going through. And, bring in the magic of the water spirits into your home. Light a candle. Do offerings. There's so many variety of ways where we can connect the outer world, the other world, into our physical world and bring magic to us. And start shifting and asking for the change that is before us that we all need. Do I think COVID exists? Yes. Do I think it should stop us from creating the life we're meant to live? No. Do I believe we are under a conduit of, I want to call it kind of perjury in a way, and being purged? There's just so much happening, and my emotional self, my emotional body, I feel these emotions. And what happens for me is if I don't purge these feelings that generally aren't even mine, they kind of affect my inner being. So that's where my healing, like anytime I feel something in my body and I don't express it, it can create a discourse within the body. That's just one thing. So we have all these levels, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. There's like all these little hierarchies that come into play. And we're all different on how that affects us. So for me, it's emotional. It shows up, the emotional state of awareness gets disbobbled and disconfigured. Some people, it might be your thoughts where you have negative thinking and you manifest through those negative thoughts. So creating an optimistic venue is very healing. So I guess what I'm saying is not only to connect with your ancestors, but also to connect with yourself through those bloodlines of your ancestors and the uniqueness they had within them, and heal different aspects of maybe what you don't understand. Maybe something appears negative, but on the other side of that, there's always something positive. It's always those polarities. What else do I see here? Yeah, just be devoted to the magic that's out there and create a relationship, not just with the outer world, but your inner world, and have those inner world conversations to literally love the skin you're in. Yeah, that's just kind of a thing I use, is to love the skin you're in, or to climb into your skin. That's kind of how I see the energetic world and the bodies. But yeah, so I guess today, through the divination and what I'm seeing, we need to have better communication with our ancestors, open the door to that, have a conversation, sit with images of them, light a candle, etc. There's so much more you can do, but for this little show, that's kind of all I wanted to bring in, is like we are in an aspect of change. We need to reconcile our own inner garden, our own emotional field. Write it down if you're not a big talker. That's one aspect. Meditate is another aspect. Have the conversation. Share your light, obviously. Have those conversations, even though sometimes they feel hard to shift the change. Yeah, but we are like at this radical state of shifting the institution and what that looks like within ourselves, standing guard. But we're not alone, right? In all of this. So, with all of that, I say Ashe.